Hi everybody, a very warm welcome to Ali Begg ABTV here on YouTube. This is a brand new show. It's called Beg to Differ. The idea behind this programme is to collect a group of Aberdeen fans together to talk all things Dons and look back on the early season form so far. This will be a continuing trend throughout the season. We will be doing review shows at the end of every month and a little bit during the World Cup. So if you would like to be part of the show, get in touch and I will do my best to get you on. If you're watching for the very first time, hi, how you doing? Welcome. If you enjoy what you watch, please feel free to subscribe. So let's get on with it and let's see how we're doing so far this season. Just a little refresher for you. So we've played 7 in the league, won 3, drawn 1, lost 3. Our form is indifferent to say the least. We currently sit 7th in the Scottish Premiership table, but as we know, that can change in a heartbeat. A good positive, quarterfinals of the Premier Sports League Cup. Our game against Partick Thistle is not that far away. And Bojan Majowski, our new striker, is our leading goal scorer on 5 league goals so far this season. So, let's get on with the show and let me introduce to you the guests. Guys, it's great to have you all with me. Let me make the introductions. So to my right, I've got Gavin from ABZ Podcast. Good evening, Gavin.
Good evening, Alec. Pleasure to be here as always.
Thank you for coming on. To my left, I've got a huge Aberdeen fan, Carol Innes. Good evening, Carol.
Hi, Alec. Good evening. Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you. Down to my right, huge Aberdeen fan, Erin Grieve. Hi, Erin.
Hello.
And down to my left, admin of Facebook page, Aberdeen fan site, Aberdeen Football Club, the Beach End Boys, Goodwin Vibrations, and also the owner of Beat 106 Scotland, Richard Wilkinson. Hi, Richard.
Hello, Ali. Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you all.
Guys, thank you so much for jumping on. So this idea is basically a sort of an early season review to look back on the opening months of the season. So let's start. And Carol, I'd like to come to you first. If there was an early season report card for Jim Goodwin, what do you think it would say?
Oh, well, I think I would probably have Jim writing out 100 times I must sign another defender is what I would probably have him writing out. Could do better. Must try harder. I think that's my report card.
Gavin, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, could do better. Should do better. A lot to be learned from the early couple of months, and yeah, get our way through to January, and as Carol said, definitely make some recruitment in the centre-back area so that our best midfielder is not playing centre-back.
Erin, do you concur with the guys?
Yeah, I think so. Not huge issues, I don't think necessarily. Nothing concerned about the defence.
And Richard, what's your thoughts?
I absolutely disagree with everybody. No, absolutely. I think I went for a score out of 10 as opposed to like a grade or anything like that. But yeah, 5.5, 6 out of 10. I think is it's you can see it. You can see the improvement. It's just we refused to use the word gelling. It's not quite there yet. But as everybody says, everybody can see the defense is a problem. If it needs a little tinkering. It needs some work done. But there's good stuff to see. So yeah, could do better is very much the phrase du jour, I suspect.
Gavin, who for you has been the standout player so far this season?
Well, the populist answer to that is obviously Duke, but he's been sensational in some aspects. The way that he's been able to improvise some goals is a real breath of fresh air, something we've not seen at Aberdeen for some time. Standout player, it's almost weird because he's almost not the standout player in his performances, but Ilber Ramadani for me has brought a real level of quality and in-game intelligence to our play. He's the kind of player that when he's doing his job well, you don't for example, back in the day. Him, I think Miofsky's been really good. I think he's been a really good find. And Liam Scales. I think he's been. Jim Goodwin put his neck on the line for Liam Scales in some ways, and he's so far, he's proving the manager was right to do so.
Evan, who's the standout player for you so far?
Oh, probably Duke, because I think we've not seen anywhere near the best of him yet. I think he's very good. I like Liam Scales. I think he is a good defender and a solid defender and stands out at the back four as being a good signing. Coulson's very good. Big fan. Was it just new players or anyone?
Anybody.
If it was anyone, by a million miles, Johnny Hayes has been the player of the season so far.
Yeah.
By miles. He is. I do not understand how he does it. The Ibrox 2-2 back in nearly a year ago now. That one, Johnny Hayes looked like Johnny Hayes from 10 years ago. And I think he honestly gets better every week. He is quick. He looks so up for it. People were saying he's barely going to manage a season. Why have we bothered? It looks like he'll be playing for another 50 years. I would honestly think it's so good to see him just playing well, have a nice time. I want to see him get a goal. He deserves one.
Richard, it's a really interesting thought from Erin, because let's not forget, Johnny is 35 years old, but playing like a 20-year-old. I'm with Erin on this. I think he's been outstanding, but I'm a big fan of Coulson as well. I think he's been a magnificent player at left back. What's your thoughts?
I would have probably gone with Erin and said Johnny Hayes, but she's said everything that could possibly be said, so I'm going to go for Kelly Roos. I think as a goalkeeper, it's not to knock Joe Lewis, but he's made some fantastic saves that I'm sure we'll go on to talk about that could have made the defeats that we have had a lot more embarrassing or a lot more, hard to bear than they were. I think genuinely a fantastic goalkeeping acquisition. I think we were all surprised that he was going to dislodge Joe, but I would say Kelly and Johnny have very much been the standouts for me so far this season.
Carol, for you?
I'm Johnny Hayes every day of the week and twice on a Saturday. He can't do any wrong in my book. The guy just gets younger every year. I had Scales down. I think Scales has been tremendous in defence. Just wish he could play against Celtic, but that's another story. I'm going to say Clarkson as well. I think he's shown flashes of brilliance that we kind of liken to a wee James Maddison when he's quite a light kind of guy, but I think he has got that touch of technical brilliance that we haven't seen for a long time. But yeah, Coulson's been great. Duke, as a surprise, has been. I think we just didn't know what to expect from Duke. I was absolutely delighted, when he scored the other week, and the guy just seems to look like he's loving life, and that's always a good thing. So yeah, that's my guys. But Hayes for me, stand out 100%.
Yeah, I think we all concur. Johnny Hayes has been absolutely superb. Okay, Erin, let me come to you with this. So the Motherwell defeat, it felt, for me personally, that leading up to that game, we had sort of taken 20 steps forward, but after that defeat, we'd taken 30 steps backwards. What concerned you the most about the defeat against Motherwell?
Blocked the entire game out of my mind. It doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned now. It was not good. It was like just last season. Like, we went behind, not great, and then we get an equaliser, lovely, everyone's a bit excited, and then we go 2-1 up, and that is good. It was something that we struggled to do last year. We'd go behind, and that was it last year, so yeah. I thought, this is great, lovely, and actually it's quite nice, like, when you're 1-0 down and 2-1, and everyone, I think, thought, this is great, and then we conceded, what was it, 2 and 3 minutes, about 5 minutes after?
Yeah.
And this is like last year's problem, which was we would play as though every single player on that pitch thought we were 6-0 up.
Richard, what's your thoughts? Sorry, Erin, carry on.
And it was, we hadn't been great, and we're playing at Annan as though we were 7-0 up and we just had to walk the thing. It was very odd. And I think there is no point putting in the work to go 2-1 up if you're then just thinking, right, we'll just have a rest now, will we? It was 50 minutes. 90 minutes. The Ross County one was a problem for that as well. not acceptable. It's it is a 90-minute game, and going 2-1 up is great and have a celebration. But to concede once bad and the second one, the defending was an absolute mess. Anthony Stewart alarmed me that time.
Yeah, Richard, the defending for the 2 goals that we lost after we went 2-1 up, as Aaron said, were absolutely appalling. And it's still a concern. Would you agree?
Oh yes, very much so. I went to the little boys' room and we were 2-1 up, and I was going, yes, this is great, fantastic. And I couldn't believe that when I came back that it was 3-2, and it was just like, what on earth had happened? But those, I think my great concern, we can talk about Stewart, we can talk about not defending on the posts at goals and corners and set pieces. I think we underestimate the fact of going, we're 11 games into the season and going, there are at football clubs analysts who will have our defence absolutely, analysed to death, and will know all the weaknesses, will have seen the scale sending off, will have seen Stewart's defensive frailties. I know that he gets a lot of hassle from some parts of the Dons fans. I really quite like Jayden Richardson, but he's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We all know that Coulson is great. Clarkson is great. But that centre-back pairing is a concern. And as I said, I would suspect that, that will be concerning going forward if they don't tighten that up and don't sort some of those issues out. I've always said, I don't matter how many goals we concede so long as we're scoring them, and at least we seem to be doing a bit more of that this season. But yeah, we should definitely be tighter at the back, and that Motherwell game was very much a bit of a red flag, as has been said, for some of the defensive frailties that we have.
For you, Carol, the red flags that Richard talks about, it's a theme that appears to be cropping up week in, week out. How much of a concern for you are our defensive frailties?
Well, I don't think they were addressed properly in the window for a start. I think Stewart's been decent, but he's had some absolute mistakes. Like, you just go, oh, really, what? I think he doesn't look the same guy when he hasn't the scales beside him. I think he lacks a bit of something. So no, I mean, as Richard said, last season we were like a leaky sieve, and we weren't scoring at the other end. Now, any decent team, you build on your defence, and if folk can't score against you, then you tend not to lose matches. This season, I think we've probably got better players in defence than we had, but there's just something not gelling with them. And I don't like seeing Ross McCrory getting dragged back there when we have to. A complete, waste of a player, in my opinion. So, I do think that, we'll probably limp along until January, decent enough, but I do think it needs to be addressed. But it's a frailty we've had for seasons, that we've always had some weakness in our defence. There's always been something, whether it's a missing left back, missing right back. There's always been I would like to see that addressed.
Richard, Gavin, I will come to you. Richard, just jump in.
Sorry, I didn't know whether I could just barge in like a rude swine, but absolutely, I think for me, and this is a big question with obviously Scales out for the next game or 2 games or whatever it is. I will start to lose a little bit of respect for the manager, for the gaffer, if the starting 11 has McCrory in that back 4. I think if you're not going to give Milne a chance, now is the time to absolutely do it. I think I'm not entirely sure which games that Scales is suspended for, but if that's the starting back 4, or certainly those 2 centre backs, and McCrory's back in the back 4, that's a real decision error for me, and I think that we look at what's the sort of giving the kids a chance. I think that to me is
what happened with a certain Scott McKenna.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
sometimes it takes for somebody to be out, for somebody to get a chance that actually transforms that person. So yeah, give them a chance. I agree.
Gavin, let me bring you in here because sorry, Erin, go ahead just quickly.
Because if Jack Milne's not ready to, why are we taking him to games? Well, we don't have to fill your bench. Don't take him. It's just a bit odd. And if I was him, I mean, he's not going to be pleased Scales is sent off, but he must have been thinking, I might get on here. So why is he not? It's very odd. I don't want to see him thrown in defence ever again. He's fine in defence, nothing wrong with it, but it's not his position at all. And it makes a mess of everything else.
Okay, Gavin, let me bring you in here because what I'm interested to know is react to what the guys are saying for me about Jack Milne, Ross McCrory, but also one of the biggest concerns for me when watching the Hibs game was the way that we completely seemed to lose ourselves after we went down to 10 men. When I was watching the game, I just thought, for the first half an hour, I actually thought we did okay, but then we got deeper and deeper and deeper. And I felt that gave them the opportunity to press us, which eventually their press led to them getting the corner, which then led to them getting the penalty kick, which is a discussion for another day in a completely separate podcast. But how alarmed should we be about the performance after we went down to 10 men against Hibs?
I like how diplomatically you've just like circumnavigated the discussion of whether Ryan Porteous is a cheat, which by the way he is. For anyone,
Red cards. SFA.
I know I'm getting hauled in front of the SFA disciplinary panel next for bringing the game into disrepute. Right, so the discussion of Milne and McCrory. So the thing is, we going out on Tuesday or Wednesday, because none of us want McCrory to be a centre back for Kilmarnock. We think that's probably what's going to happen because I think it's pretty clear that Goodwin's identified him as being the primary centre back cover if either Scales or Stewart is not available. If we wanted to keep Jack Milne in and around the building, like keep him in within the squad, you can still do that while sending him out on loan to a part-time team and get him back in to get that first team experience. It is a big ask of him because at the end of the day, he was brought back from a loan spell with Brecon last year where he was a centre midfielder. And then I think Neil Simpson identified that he has the build and the characteristics to be a centre back. If he's not going to play, though, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. It frustrates me because, like, I get that this isn't an ideal solution, but we had David Bates in the building, and if we haven't got a target, in the building that can provide centre back cover, why not just say to David Bates, "Listen, it's not ideal, but we need someone in until January. We reevaluate things, and then we don't have to play our best centre midfielder in centre back. We suffer this double jeopardy." It's incredibly frustrating. And as for Hibs, I would go as far as say the red card. Even before that, we were sitting back in a pretty disappointing fashion because this is a Hibs team that are by no means great at the moment. Lee Johnson's under a lot of pressure, and we got that early goal most of the season. That game, we get the goal through Duke. It's a great goal from him. And then we just, it was almost the things that I think people are hesitant about Jim Goodwin when he came in is how he would approach certain matches and whether his mentality would be, to sit back. He's talked a lot about being an attacking manager, but in that instance, I felt that we were negative. And ultimately, that's what cost us at the end of the day.
Would you say that was poor game management then, Gavin? Would you say that getting the early goal was, was it? I don't mean it as that's not as leading as what I'm about to say. But would you say the early goal was a bad thing?
I don't think it was a bad thing. I think you can say that there was an opportunity to press home an advantage. That we simply did not do, and in the end, we kind of played into Hibs' hands. And the upsetting thing is, the red card happens, and disgrace, but whatever, it's gone. They go 1-1 up, and it goes 1-1. And then I had absolutely no faith that we were going to keep that game to a draw. It felt like it was inevitable that we were going to lose. After the game, Jim Goodwin was talking about how it's impossible to keep a game 1-1 when you're down to 10 men. Meanwhile, Livingston, St Mirren is talking to us about how difficult it is to play 10 men. It's one of them, you can't really have it both ways. So
I was going to say, Gavin, I think, disappointing is the right word, because when you go that up, you go into lead that early. We've got quite an attacking minded team. Our midfield and that are it's quite an attacking, forward looking kind of team we have. You would think that they would just take the bit by the teeth and go for it. We're 1-up at Hibs. Let's keep going for it. And it was almost like we just kind of lost the plot a little bit. And it was like, what happened after, I kind of, the first 10, 15 minutes, it was kind of like, okay. And then it just kind of seemed to fall to bits. And then we went down to 10 men, and, that the substitution just before half time, I didn't get that either. I was like, why are you doing that? You've just basically told Hibs what we're going to do the next, and you've lost one of your substitutions as well, which he seems to be in the habit of doing, which really annoys me. But yeah, there was a complete lack of composure. It was just like a complete, I don't know. Am I allowed to say arse collapse?
You are now.
You can edit that out there.
Yeah, yellow card.
yeah, it's the exact same thing that happened against Motherwell when we were 2-1 up. It's
Yeah,
the frustrating thing for me at the Hibs game was, as you guys have said, of going, we started the game 4-4-2, and we were, as I said, we were attacking, we were playing good football, and then whether Hibs sussed us out, I'm not entirely sure. But as everybody said, and as everybody knows already, there was a collapse of certain proportions of which we can't fully describe. But that's what I want to see, and what pains me is that because we started 4-4-2 as opposed to 4-2-3-1, I wouldn't want Jim Goodwin going, oh, well, okay, I'm not taking that risk again, because that's what we want to see. We've got 2, potentially 3, if he can get his head in the game, really good strikers. And I want to see them both playing together. I want to see goals. And if that means being a bit leaky at the back, then so be it. But what I don't want to have happen is what we've had, to a degree of success over the past kind of, 8-9 years, which is just have one man up front. I'm very much of the old school way of going, you should be having 2 strikers at Pittodrie at the very least. So, yeah, I think I would be disappointed if we start to kind of now go, we'll just have 1 striker up front, just because of the way that the Hibs game panned out.
Right, guys, we haven't got very long. So, Erin, I'd like to come to you with this, because we're talking about strikers. Is there still a place for Christian Ramirez in this Aberdeen team?
I feel bad because I want to say yes, but Gavin, you're not. You can't tell me no. Maybe do you know what? Yeah, there is. I think the best striker, and I'm going to get a Ramirez shirt next season. There you go. No, I think at the moment, is there a place for him based on people playing? Potentially, I think Majowski's been really off at the last 3-4 games, and Jim Goodwin's big thing is about people having to prove themselves, get in the squad, fighting for position, so having multiple options. Drop him, put Ramirez on. I'm not saying he might be brilliant. I don't know. But we haven't really seen him, have we? A bit in the cup and that's it. But I don't know if he'd be any. I thought Majowski was quite poor at Hibs. I thought he was poor at Ross County. I thought he missed an absolute sitter. And I think that there is no harm in players thinking, I need to be playing well to keep my place here, because complacency was a massive issue last season. Every single player knew they would be picked every week. And so everyone gave up. So I have no issue with Ramirez having a shot. I don't know if he'll be good enough, but I think if we're being fair and we are doing the whole people need to fight to get in the team thing, people need a chance. So I think there's potential for him. Okay. I also think that can't guarantee that we don't end up with injuries for other strikers, that we don't have problems. I mean, we haven't even seen Cal Roberts yet.
Yeah. Okay. Gavin, your thoughts on Ramirez?
He's injured.
Yeah, but is he training? Is he ever? When's he ready?
It's a pretty bad injury, but I think for what they were saying.
Well, so there we go. So that's the thing. If we get another striker injured, you're kind of struggling. I quite like 2 up front as well. I honestly would have on Saturday, the week before a Hibs game, I would have taken off Majowski and put on Ramirez. I would have put Scales, when Scales got sent off, I would have put, no, when Scales got sent off, I would have taken off my off-game, put Jack Milne into defence. And then I would have taken off Bazouin to put on Ramirez. And I would have taken off, when I took Coulson off, I would have just put Johnny Hayes into left back and taken on Kennedy.
Okay.
Jaffe Kennedy isn't good enough. But yeah, I think most players, there is an opportunity for them. And Ramirez, I think it would be a shame if he just petered out. Seems a pity.
Gavin, your thoughts on Ramirez? Keep it brief, please, my friend.
Brief then. I find it very unlikely in reality that he does. There's so much going on that I just can't see it happening at all.
Okay. Carol, for you?
Getting over the dramas. If we can have the Christian Ramirez that we had last season, there's a place for him, because we are going to get strikers injured. Miloski's going to get injured. Duke's going to get injured. I'm a big advocate of 4-4-2 as well. So I'm kind of thinking that we need every striker in the building we can. Don't know what's going on. Don't know what the thing is. Don't know why he's not managing to fight his way back in the team. But I would keep him, yes, at the moment.
Richard?
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to play two up front, then we're going to need a third striker. It's as simple as that. I would like to see him play with a second striker up front, because I think last season it was pretty much him on his own, and his strike rate wasn't, he did well, but it wasn't fantastic in terms of the opportunities that he had. So yeah, I think he'll be needed if we continue to play two up front. If we're not, then he's surplus to requirement and he'll be off at the end of the season, and whether he'll be off at the end of the season regardless. So heart says would love to see him play again. Reality says don't think so.
Okay. For what it's worth, I can't see him sticking around for much longer either, to be honest. Guys, we've come to the end. So thank you so much for jumping on tonight. Thank you so much for all your thoughts and your contribution. It's very much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed the chat, and hopefully we will all catch up again very soon. Take care, good night, and we'll hopefully see you again soon. Bye for now. So there we are. The first show is in the can. I really hope you enjoyed what you watched today. And don't forget, we will be reviewing all of the Dons' performances at the end of every single month leading up to the end of the season. And we'll be doing a little bit during the World Cup as well. So if you want to be part of the show, get in touch and I would love to get you on. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Take care. Bye for now.